and ate it. I mean, like just a quintessential open
Right.
mic bomb. So bad that I walked backwards on the stage, crashed into the Funny Bone neon sign, and out of complete fear, turned around and apologized to the sign. That wasn't a bit.
Greetings, everyone. Come on in and have a seat up front to the Funny Muscle Podcast. If you're here, then you're looking to learn how to create laughs like a pro. So please help me welcome to the stage your co-host to help you do that, economics professor and open micer Chris Stifler and comedian turned author Mike Lukas.
There he is. There we
Mike,
go.
hey man, how you doing?
What's going on? Are you still
Had a
doing
great
comedy,
time.
Sean?
Yeah, man. I'm getting out there, man. I got I kind of open up for Greg Warren a bunch. He'll use me a good 20 weeks a year, and then I'll
Oh,
get
that's good.
some couple Nikki Glaser dates, couple this guy Josh Arnold out of who was a Bob and Tom guy. He hosts the show, and then grab my own stuff,
Great.
out
Well,
here like, in the Midwest. So
Chris was asking
so
me
yeah,
how we
doing
know each other, and I was saying that back in the day when I was headlining in St. Louis, you were working, it was a Funny Bone, right? And you were the bartender there while you were doing your stand-up on the side. And slowly, as I got to work there, your stand-up became like from a hobby to a full-time pursuit.
That's right. In fact, dude, so small world stuff. You were the first guy I got to open for on a paid week.
Oh,
You were
no
my
kidding.
first paid week in stand-up comedy.
And you
It
buried
was
me.
like I don't think that was the case at all, but yeah, I'll never. It was like end of September, October to October 3rd or something. And I was doing a bunch of guest spots and open mics, and Matt's like, well, let's throw you in the fire. And thank God I had you, dude. You were real patient with me, and you also met me up at we met up at Starbucks there in the plaza a couple
Yeah.
times and just talk comedy and all that type of stuff. And
I told you how to
yeah,
do your job. I said, you face the crowd. I said, make sure that you use your voice.
Okay.
And I said, make sure that after you're done talking, they're laughing. And
yeah,
you
yeah. Well, you
obeyed.
know what? Actually, dude, you actually gave me a piece of advice that still rings true to this day. When we were at Starbucks, and I'm going to paraphrase this, but it was just basically talking about joke writing, and you basically were like, man, what you're just trying to do is you're just trying to take two different worlds and incorporate them into one. Like somehow
Yeah,
you're going to make, Yankee Candles connect with WD-40 or whatever. Like you're going to
right.
find this through line. And that always stood with me, man. Like it was a really interesting, piece of advice that you gave me. And I'll never forget that of like, it kind of not simplified it, but it definitely was like, okay, it's like you can take anything. You can take anything and make it funny. It just doesn't make sense. Why are you connecting these dots?
Right.
Etc. And it always that always stuck with me. And again, it wasn't exactly how you said it, but pretty much that was the gist of it. Was just it's so you can bring anything together and make it work. It's just how you piece that puzzle together. I always that always stuck with me. 13 years later or whatever it's been.
Interesting. Yeah, I call that a frog bank now. We say that a frog's not funny and a bank's not funny, but when you combine a frog and a bank into a
Yeah,
frog bank, you get a funnier idea, like a frog standing in line waiting to deposit its flies or whatever. Um,
yeah.
my friend would say, like a cartoon. Well, our show is basically we talk to young comics about how they figure out how to make things funny and create sort of laughter out of nothing. And we wanted to kind of pick apart your process for that as a comedian, and you are now a co-host for Greg Warren's podcast, The Consumers. I saw that you got that gig. I was really happy for you. I knew you were opening for Greg, but I didn't know that he had chosen you for a co-host position. So congratulations on that. That's well deserved. You're doing a great job on that. I've been watching some of the clips from that show, and
Yeah, thanks, Mikey.
hold
Yeah, I
your own.
appreciate you saying that, man. Yeah. We just hit our year mark, and yeah, we're having fun with it, man. It's you know, it's a little different in the sense that we're just not riffing per se. We literally actually take a brand every week and like do this deep dive on like whatever, Gatorade, Southwest Airlines, Otis Elevators, you know, sky's the limit. And then try and make something funny within that conversation, you know, surrounding the product. And then, you know, we'll goof around and, you know, tell some stories and stuff. But I kind of thought that the premise was, I was like, dude, this isn't going to work, man. People are going to tune out. And surprisingly, it seems to be going all right, man. The listener, it's slowly, you know, it's a slow climb, but
Right.
we're getting there. And we're backed up by Nate Bargatze. He's the producer. So it's on all his
Oh,
socials and, you know, his YouTube page and, you know, he's got a whole dude, that guy, you know, he's in a different stratosphere. He's got a whole team working for him. So it's
yeah.
nice. You know, they pump out all the clips and, you know, the promo side, they're, you know, it's very effective to have them in your back pocket, you know, being that guy's, you know, selling out multiple arenas and, you know, he'll go to Dallas and play where the Mavericks play 3 shows, you know,
The guy's
crazy.
amazing. Yeah. Well, so is Greg.
Insane.
Greg is doing just as well almost. Greg is on the same track at least as Nate. I always said that Greg should be on that track, and I know you have always been a big fan too. Jesus, he's so funny. Greg has got a cool angle on silliness, and so do you, man. Like that's what I wanted to ask you about. Well, first of all, how long have you been a professional comic? How long have you been in the world?
I guess you could say, you know, doing it for, if you want to count first open mic, I'm on year 13.
Yeah.
Professionally, if you want to count like first paycheck, I'm probably right at the 10-year mark, you know, of actually making, you know, certainly not getting rich, but you know, getting a paycheck as a host and then graduating to a feature and then maybe headlining some off nights in certain rooms, depending
Right.
the you know scenario. So, yeah, I'd say 10 to 13 year mark, depending you know where you're starting the clock.
And how did you start in the first place? Like what was it that dragged you into the what was it, the chicken and the egg with the bartending at the stand-up comedy club?
Not at all, dude. It was a good buddy of mine. His name was Keith Sissel. God rest his soul. He passed away a few years ago, sadly. But he was a good friend of mine, and he was a comic. I was working at a cheesecake factory. He was working at a Hula Hands. They were right next to each other in a mall. I'd go over there, have beers after work, just talk to him as the bartender, and I would just tell stories or talk, and he just said, "Dude, you're a funny guy." Like I'm kind of a ranty type guy. I'll kind of
Yeah.
get into this complainy type mode, very like a Bill Burr inspired, you know, type act and I was flipping out about like oil changes or something silly. And he just told me, he goes, "Dude, that would be a bit." He goes, "If you did what you just said right now on a stage," he goes, "that's a joke." And I'm
Right.
like, "Oh," I never really, that didn't occur to me. Although I always loved stand up, but you know, I always liked watching Carlin and, you know, this is like the early, you know, mid 2000s or something. And, you know, I was just kind of into, I mean, God, I don't even know who, I think Dane Cook was a big deal at the time,
Yep,
you
yep.
know, stuff like that. And, but it was the typical, I was, you know, public speaking, I was terrified of. So just right there, every time he would bring me out, tell me about doing open mic, I'd be like, not happening.
Right.
I don't like talking in front of people. I don't know how to write jokes. I'm not, honestly, that's not something I'm interested in. I'm going to be getting into real estate. And Keith was just aggressive. We became very close and he just kept hammering me. He's like, "Dude, one time, just go up one time." And at 4 months, this guy kept hammering me about going up. And I said, "Yeah, all right, Keith, fine. If I go up for 4 minutes, you'll never bring this up to me again. I don't want to hear the word comedy. I don't want to hear anything about it. I'll go. No more." He goes, "Deal." And he talked to Matt. He got me up, brought out a bunch of my cheesecake, you know, people who I was working with. And then, you know, so then what happened is I tricked myself. I had a hot room. I had like 30 of my friends out. So for a first timer, I actually did what was considered okay because I had a padded room. So I got a little delusion. I was like, wait a minute. Maybe I do have something here. I literally was like, I think I can do, God, for my first time, I was like, I think I can do this. So then I went up again next week with no Cheesecake fans and ate it. I mean, like just a quintessential open mic bomb. So bad that I walked backwards on the stage, crashed into the Funny Bone neon sign, and out of complete fear, turned around and apologized to the sign. That wasn't a bit. That was literally me thinking somebody walked behind me. Like I was so just terrified. And then I said, I'm quitting, no more. This is not for me. And then I met Greg Warren a month later, and Greg goes, who are you? What are you complaining about? And I'm like, oh, nice to be. I go, oh no, man, I did stand up my second time, and I didn't do well, so I'm done. And he just kind of smirked, and he goes, yeah, man. He goes, you don't know what you're talking about. He goes, do you enjoy going up? I go, I enjoyed the first time. He goes, well, that's not how this works. He goes, tell you what, go up 1,000 times, 1,000, and then come and talk to me about I'm bombing. It's good. It's bad. He goes, you're supposed to. He goes, you have no idea what you're doing. You're not supposed to know what you're doing. The fact that you're just trying it and just getting up there and literally just talking and just trying to present a joke, that's half the battle on your first and second and third time. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I see. And that like reopened like how I examine like stand up and like open mics. And I'm like, okay, so this is okay. Like I thought it was like I was a failure because I ate it the second time.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, no, everyone eats it the second time. Unless you're a prodigy or just something special. Of course you're going to eat it. You have no idea what you're doing. You know, and this was also in St. Louis at the time where you had Nikki Glaser, Tommy Johnigan, Greg Warren, Josh Arnold, Matt Conti. These are all like Jeremy Essick. These are all like who at one time or still do have a great career, huge career, or headliners, you know. So Greg's like, yeah, don't compare yourself to them. So that really shook me up. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. And then the luxury of working at the club was Matt was very friendly about, you know, making sure I got up every Tuesday. And you're like, okay, now I get it now. Now I get what the goal is here. So, yeah, you know, I know I'm going long here on my story, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I basically got into stand-up. It wasn't that wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do this. It kind of fell in my lap by a friend pushing me. And then, you know, like you guys know, I mean, it's the most addicting thing in the world, especially, you know, doing well. Conversely, bombing, public humiliation is what I would call bombing.
Right.
Is the worst. But getting a crowd of strangers to laugh at stuff that comes out of your mouth, I don't know what is a greater feeling on the planet. You know, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Well, what's your technique? Like what is it? How do you take something that's sounds like you're a ranter and a storyteller. How do you take something like that and turn it into jokes? Because
yeah, a little bit. I have to live it, Mike. Like it's got to be something that I am not, you know, the greatest at. Like, let's just sit and write funny stuff. Although, I mean, I will journal.
Okay.
This is the Greg Warren school where you just write in cursive. You just push the pen for 30 minutes. It doesn't matter if you write like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Literally, it's you can't even read it half the time. You just move the pen 30 minutes. You know, the idea is just to capture something. What I do is like either live it like, okay, give you an example. I had this situation. Funny, I mentioned oil changes earlier. I had this issue with, I got this like kind of new car and I got a oil change and the price was like $220. And I just snapped in public on this guy, and the guy didn't even care. He's just like, yeah, no, it's times are tough, blah blah blah. But I'm looking at everyone else, and I'm like, wow, they're not complaining. Like they're just paying their bill and being polite members of society. And so I wrote that down, and I'm like, and there could be nothing there. That's the thing, there'd be nothing there. But I just wrote down, flipped out at car dealer chip over oil change. So I will take that. And basically, I just asked this question. I asked myself, is there anything interesting? To me, I almost start with that. I think it's very hard in something that is just like out of the gate funny. Once in a while you can get those gifts, but to me, I start with like what is interesting or different or unique about this. And that's where I'll kind of try and build almost just a premise. And I'll start with like that. And then I will see if I can grow it into something. And I'll need about 100 of those. And then maybe 5 will make it in the act as like a polished bit. So that's the beauty of stand-up. It's like, hey, that's okay if this oil change thing fails. Statistically, with me, it probably will. But you find 100 of those type things. And that's what I'm just paying attention to my day-to-day life. And, my dog, I got this 200-pound dog. I take him to a dog park. He's like in the 1% of dog sizes. There's a uniqueness to that. Is there anything interesting of how he acts or behaves? Why do I find that interesting? So that is in my act. I got like my closers, this 4-minute thing on having this dog that I thought was just like a yellow lab who was 20 pounds, who turned out to be a 200-pound mastiff Great Dane. And it turned into this whole fun, like 3.5-minute bit,
That's hilarious. The puppy turned into something you didn't realize.
Yeah, it was a shelter dog. They said they're like, he's a mix, he won't get that big. And I'm like, yeah, he's mixed with buffalo, so they get pretty big. Just stuff like that,
Right.
And that's what kind of inspires me creatively for writing, is getting out of the house and just examining the world, and it's got to almost kind of come to me. It's a little trickier for me to sit and then just be like, what's up with 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner? Why are they 2-in-1? Like I'm just not that guy who could develop a bit as easy as maybe like a Jonigan or somebody else who could be like, Greg's doing a bit right now on chairs. That's right, chairs. What we're sitting in, he's got 5 minutes on chairs, and it's just gold.
Right.
And he told me, he goes, yeah, I'm working on this bit on chairs. And I'm like, good luck with that. I was like, I'm sure that'll go nowhere. Killer joke he's got out of it. Talking about swivel chairs. Thomas Jefferson invented it on it. And he's got a whole 5-minute bit on it. And it's beautiful, So, but again, stylistically, he's a little different, and that's okay. So yeah, I found a lot of comfort in that, is just living life, and anything that happens that I find interesting, I will write down. That's really the core of where I start. Is it unique? Is it different? Is it interesting? And whether nothing materializes out of that or not, that's okay. But just if there's a uniqueness to anything, or something dumb I did, I put Rain-X on my windshield the other day on the outside, that stuff that keeps, water, the rain off here. Then for no reason, I don't know why, I went around and I sprayed it on the inside of my windshield like it's Windex, and now I can't get the damn thing off. I don't know why, Mike. I don't know why. But I did that. That's a real thing. I did that, and now I got this slimy film that a professional, detailer can't get it off. It's been on my window for 2 months. And he's like, yeah, buddy, I would never put Rain-X on the inside of your windshield again. So there you go.
Positive side, when you spit, when you talk, nothing's going to happen to the inside of your windshield.
That's how you got to look at it, buddy. There's always a positive and a negative world, right?
When you jack off in your car while you're driving, you'll be fine.
Exactly, man. Dude, I'm safe, man. That'll repel right off. So right? I got nothing to worry about.
They don't know what you're thinking of. You're thinking you're playing chess while they're playing checkers.
Exactly, dude. I'm 3 moves ahead.
Well, what I get that's your technique, which is a really cool insight into how you get comedy. What have you given much thought as to what your comedy brand is, what we call the comedy lens, where you're trying to figure out what is it about you that makes you different than all the other comics? What is it about your take, your angle, that makes you different? You could probably identify Greg Warren's comedy lens quicker than your own. We're able to find other people's more than our own. But I'm just wondering the thought.
It's a good question. In some ways, I'm still trying to answer that. I think I know I'm kind of starting to mold into this kind of everyday guy, kind of blue collar guy. I just kind of, even on stage, I don't get too dressy, and I just try and be oh, this is the guy, this is the same guy that, you sit down at the bar with and you don't know him and then you just talk to him for 30 minutes and just hit it off. Like, I feel like I'm starting to get into that lane of just like kind of this like everyday man. And that's kind of what my act is. It comes off, I'm not the most prolific writer, admittedly. There is a very heavy conversational side to me, but it also is very advantageous to my act. Like, I think one of the best compliments I get is people like, "Hey, man, I really enjoyed your stuff. I felt like you were just in my house hanging out with me." I
Right.
don't know what that is.
You're the bar buddy. You're the bar buddy.
Yeah, yeah, and I really like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Although, don't get me wrong, this is, it is very scripted up there.
Well,
I
yeah.
like to try and present it that it is not at all scripted and that this is just, oh yeah, oh, here's what happened to me on Sunday and today's Tuesday, and just trying to have this very organic style of how I present my stand-up, which, back to my original point, is like, I think that's kind of the guy I think I'm becoming. Because you don't know. Even at 10 years, you're still kind of like, I'm just now getting my voice, I think. I was very influenced by Bill Burr, George Carlin, Greg Giraldo, Colin Quinn. I always kind of like the like faster pace, ranty guys, and it's like, and that's fine. That's fine to have inspiration. I mean, Greg was hugely inspired by Bob Newhart. You could watch old Bob Newhart today, and Greg will be the first to admit it. It'd be like, that was my guy. I love watching him to this day.
Makes
You can
sense.
still, but at the same time, you have to have your own identity and voice and what makes you you. And I think that's where I'm starting to gravitate into that lane of just kind of like, the everyday guy. I'm not talking about driving fancy cars or having flashy stuff or a bunch of money.
Yet.
One, because yeah, we'll see. But one, because I don't, and two, because it's the truth. It's like, I think there's some value into being on stage.
Authentic.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm going up there telling the crowd I'm poor, but I think there's something endearing about being like, yeah, I had middle class income, I grinded out doing this. Guys, I sell t-shirts after the show so I can get from city to city, pay gas money. And there's some honesty into that,
Right.
I mean, feature pay has literally gone down in the last 5 years because there's less shows. I mean,
Yeah.
Mike, it used to, Mike, it used to be shit. You'd have Funny Bone would have 9 shows in a week.
Yep.
They'd start on Wednesday, 3 Saturday, and then a Monday show.
Right.
Plus 2 Friday, 1 Sunday. Half these Funny Bones now, it's a 1-2 setup. 1 Friday, 2 Saturday, and curtains.
Yeah, and it makes sense why they cut the pay in that sense, but you wonder why less people are coming out to see the shows. That's the main question. Why is the industry drying up a little bit?
Yeah, and
Saturation is one reason.
100%. 100% is a huge reason. And accessibility. I mean, that's the thing, man. When you and I were hanging out at the coffee shop, whatever it was, 12 years ago, you didn't have all these mediums to get, comedy at your fingertips. You could to some degree, but I mean, dude, we could sit down right now, pull up our computer or our smart TV and watch literally anybody, anything we want. And the worst case scenario is it might be on a paywall for $4.99 on YouTube or something. But it's like, I can watch anybody's stuff. Now, that still doesn't take away from the fact that, you're losing the live aspect of something. But it is what you said. There is a saturation. I mean, there are guys and girls coming in, to say St. Louis in the market, and they're going to the Pageant, which is a 1,500 seater, and playing one show. And I'm like, who is this person? I follow stand up. Like, I thought very well and good for them. I don't know who the hell they are,
right?
But they're doing something right because they just sold 1,500 tickets on a Wednesday night. And it's like, they're like, yeah, I don't need the 6 shows at the Funny Bone anymore. I can just bang out 4 shows at 1,000 seats a show, hit 4 markets, and go to St. Louis, then Kansas City, then Omaha, then Denver. Bam. There's my Thursday to Sunday. So I think maybe a part of that has to play because comedy is certainly not dead. It is alive and kicking, but I think it's also, I think people too, they can, they can research now, the days of just going to see a comedy show aren't as popular as they were 15 years ago. I mean, the Funny Bone lived in that model of, hey, you can come here 52 weeks a year. You might not ever know the act. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you don't, you're going to walk away having a great time. Yeah. And you would get 600, 700, 800 people through the doors. Now it's a little different. You can have a murderer come in, a complete killer, New York guy, LA guy, Denver, Austin, whatever, but they don't have any juice or credits. So you can't get any butts in the seats. Right. So, because people are like, I don't know who so-and-so is, so I'm going to pass and save my money and go see Nikki Glaser at the Fox this weekend, or something like that. I think there is some play into that because the amount of venues and opportunities to see stand-up just in St. Louis alone is crazy. There's 3 clubs now in town, plus like a 1,500 seater, plus the Stiefel Theater, which is like a 3,000 seater, plus the Fox. And then you have arena acts now. I mean, it used to be 1 or 2 arena acts 20 years ago. Now there's like 10. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy, So I think that kind of has shifted maybe, I don't know if that's worked in the comedy club's favor. It's kind of a different hustle. So I think maybe their strategy is, all right, let's do 3 shows, pack it in these 3, ditch the nights of playing and, getting 30 people to come out on a Sunday and, focus on that, which is kind of a bummer. Luckily, St. Louis still subscribes to that, but they're very old school. As you know, Mike, it's, the same 3 servers are there. I've been there 14 years and I'm 6th in line in seniority out of 8 people. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it just shows you, the culture. There's no food there. That's a big one. So you're not dealing with the kitchen, food runners, bussers. So I think that's another reason, you take like an Omaha Funny Bone, they got a full kitchen. Well, guess what? You need more than 50 people to come to the show or you're going to probably lose money at the end of the day is my guess. Yeah. Where you can get away with 50 people in Westport.
Well, what is your opinion of the new model in terms of the pleasantness for the audience to come out and to be able to recognize the people who you're going to see is an advantage for sure, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to go see a good show. Those people aren't always the best comics that are the best known. So what do you think? What do you think about that? What's your opinion about how that's moving?
Yeah, I mean, you're dead on, and I mean, I think cause for concern with that because you get someone to come out and they'll see somebody they've never heard of. Well, let me go back. It also, I'm concerned too, is I think some guys and girls, I think they're getting in. I think they're getting MC weeks and feature weeks when I frankly think some aren't ready. I mean, I'm pretty hard on myself and I do that to keep myself sharp and honest and to, be the best I can. I'm not going to name the club because it doesn't matter, but I was on the road somewhere. And it was a pretty light week. You had an MC go up 15, ate it. You had 2 guest spots, ate it. And then you had me go up. And I am effectively going up to a dead crowd who have sat there for 30 minutes. They're already miserable. So I better throw heat and I better throw it hard because they've already just like, what is going on here? I paid $20. Drinks are $12 a piece because I got the Funny Bone special, and I don't know. I'm not seeing jokes right now, and I'm sure that's not everywhere. That's just a very loose statement. But I think, and there are some bookers who are terrific, and they have their finger on the pulse and they know what they're doing. But I've always subscribed to the school of like, hey man, if you got a killer in town and he did the week 3 weeks ago. And he's home, put him back on in 3 weeks. Yeah. No, I don't care if some regular was just there and just saw him. They would rather see the guy who killed 3 weeks ago than new faces who keep bombing. I would rather use the ones that are working, and it also just keeps people honest, makes them work harder and get better. But a lot of it is supply and demand. It's also now it's a world too, especially with features. It's the days of calling up Dave Stroop or like filling your calendar for 30 weeks. They don't exist anymore. Now it's all like, well, if so and so is bringing you, sure, you can come play the loony bin, but or whatever, insert club. But it's all like, hey, yeah, this deal, the headliner, they bring their opener, they bring your opener.
Yes.
So that's the bizarre thing, man. I'm getting better. I'm better as I am comedian today than I was 5 years ago. Yet I'm having a harder time getting work, making less money because there's less shows. So that's why I'm saying, thank God I got Greg. Greg is a huge resource for me. He'll bring me out, and then our other co-host Tim Convey, we kind of split the weeks. And I'll get the 15, 20 weekends a year with him. But yeah, without that, man, I'm not sure what I would be doing right now. I mean, it'd be tricky. It'd be tricky because it's not how it used to be, where you just pick up the phone and then Stroop emails you, here you go. Here's 26 dates for the year. Have fun.
Right.
It just doesn't exist. So
yeah, that's an old pattern. And I remember the owners of St. Louis Funny Bone talking to me as they were getting me drunk for the Thursday night show. But I remember them saying, that how lucky I was to even get a spot there, because I didn't bring anything to the table. I was basically, when the audience shows up, I do a great job entertaining that audience, but it's not an audience I brought. It's an audience that they nurtured because of how good the club was. And his point was, as I get bigger and better as a comedian, I better start bringing people in.
Yeah, and that's fine to think that way. That's all. I mean, that's not really being realistic, maybe I don't know. I remember when I was with you personally, dude, like you were murdering 15 years ago. So I would imagine that still exists today. What is your work schedule, man? Are you doing boats? Are you grinding out clubs? Where are you at right now?
I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I'm teaching.
Okay.
I'm teaching comedy at the Dallas Comedy Club and doing some work in town here. But I haven't really gotten. I was retired for 10 years to help raise my kids, and so I got back into it last August. So I've been back on stage for about a year now.
Gotcha, man. Yeah. Is it like riding a bike, man? You get back on and you got that 45 locked in, or is it a little wobbly?
I feel like I'm a guy who woke up, like fell asleep and I woke up 10 years later, and everybody got real picky, everybody got real angry, everybody got real resentful of the things that I thought were funny before. So it's a different realm that I was used to. So I'm having to get used to that. Luckily, I have 2 teenage kids that are helping me break my antiquated thoughts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like, I don't know, all that stuff with like negativity. It's like, look, dude, it's really a simple task. And it's like, look, if I go up, I don't care. You like what I'm doing, don't like what I'm doing. I'm like, if I'm getting the crowd to laugh, I win. Right. I mean, that's the game. That's the game that's played here. It's instant proof that we know if this is working or not based off reactions. So, I catch a little ball breaking too, because I'm under this Nate Bargatze umbrella. My whole act is, effectively it's clean. It's a pretty clean act, and
which is
guys
great.
will bust my chop. Yeah, man, and it's like, I was never really like, quote, dirty, even, pre Greg Warren, Nateland stuff. So it's like, okay, don't curse as much. No, just don't curse. And it's like, for me, luckily, it didn't really change the way I approach jokes.
You were always twisted in my book. You were always somebody who was looking at life a bit twisted. Like everything had a unique angle to it. Simple things had unique angles to them.
Yeah, and I still try and keep that as something that could, as a springboard, to get me to a bit. But man, I tell you what, that's one thing I learned, and I'm so glad. Like at first, I was scared about working. Like, oh, it's got to be clean, clean. It's like, hey, man, if you're good, it doesn't matter. I mean, half the time when people watch Greg, they leave and they're like, oh yeah, that guy was clean. I
Didn't
didn't even
really,
really, you don't even associate it. You're just like, yeah, because he was so good.
right.
I wasn't scoring if he was like, oh, that was a dirty joke, that was a clean joke. I just love the act. So, and then you're like, oh yeah, I guess you're right, honey. He didn't curse at all, did he? Huh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. And then move on. So it does, in terms of getting more work, I mean, that single-handedly saved me, and
Yeah.
it even got me to do last month. I got to put out my first kind of mini special showcase on Nate's channel. It's on YouTube, just a 15-minute showcase.
Oh, good.
And really it was just, hey, can you stay clean? We saw your tape. We like it. Do that again in front of a crowd. We'll film it and put it up.
Oh, good.
And there was guys who I think are as talented as me, if not more, but they can't write a clean joke,
Right.
or they just don't want to. I take that back. They actually can. For whatever reason, there's this fear of just like, hey man, this joke is so close to being clean. You just took it to a dirty place. You don't have to. Now listen, if that's how you want to work, you're right. I support you. I would never tell anybody. I don't think, if that's what you want to do, great. For me, I was just looking at it almost like a business choice of like, hey man, you can get a lot more doors open for you if you just take out a couple of these cuss words.
Right.
Then, that can lend you to, even opening up for Greg at some corporate gigs. They're hell gigs. They're not the best time, but boy, that paycheck is fun,
Yeah.
and
Fat
it's
paychecks.
all simply just because I just didn't talk about, anything profane or didn't use any profanity.
Sean, does your comedy lens work in different parts of the America differently? Like if you're a Midwestern guy, blue collar, drinking a beer, does that not
Mhm.
work in Washington, D.C. as well as it works in Omaha?
It's a great question, man. It's been pretty consistent. Now, I also don't know how well I could score that question because the majority of my road work is with somebody who is selling tickets. So I'm playing in front of Greg Warren's people. So it's kind of like, if you love Greg, you're probably gonna like me. I mean, I've been pretty fortunate that I haven't noticed too many differences. I did have a couple sets. I went to New York like a year or two ago, and I got like on some bar show, and it was a pretty dirty show, but it was working. People were liking it, and then I got up there, and I'm like, my dad asked me what channel Netflix is on, and they're like, nerd, just like like this table was being set of like, this guy, this is corny stuff. I could just kind of feel like,
Right.
okay, what I'm bringing it's just not matching what I'm following, and I could just kind of feel like I was like, oh, okay, they saw this thing that was over here for the last hour. Now they're seeing this thing that's here. And I just wasn't connecting with them. And I don't know if it was that because I was just clean or just because of what I was talking about. Yeah. Like it'd be really interested to see how I would do in certain markets that, like, if I just like got filled in as a featured open for whoever, and I was like up in Boston or in like maybe a different part of the country. But for the most part, I've been pretty fortunate. It stayed pretty consistent of reaction. In fact, if anything, man, I'd say the Midwest, man, is really where I have the most fun, man. And it's like, I swear, the more like farm country type like demographic I'm in, I swear it's the hotter the show. Like, like I'll like, I've had some of my favorite shows in like Cedar Rapids, Iowa, or like Bismarck, North Dakota. I remember I just had like just like couldn't miss one of those sets where you're just like, never end. Please never have my time end here. I mean, they were just and I'm like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like I was, I have a terrible problem doing, like, I'll go in, you get to the venue at 30, 45 minutes before the show, and I'm looking at the room. And I don't know if that is a smart thing to do, because I start putting in my head, I'm like, this looks like a little older group. I don't know if they can relate to this reference. Oh, these kids, these look young. These are college kids.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm going to be like the old dad to them. I have nothing to say. Like, I get in my own head with it. And so I actually just stopped doing it. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to do your act. So who cares? Why are you looking at the room? Just go to the green room, wait for your name to be called, and go up and do your act. Like, what are you going to change your act on the fly based on what you see in the crowd? It doesn't make any sense, So
Yeah.
I kind of learned to stop doing that and just feel like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Be confident. Don't show fear. I'm supposed to be here for a reason. That's another thing too. I always showed, when I started going out, there was fear in me. When if I was kind of not really cracking out of the gate, and I was like, okay, these are tepid laughs and not getting much, I would push, I would talk faster. Now it's just like, no more of that. That's fine. You guys don't like that or don't love it, I'm fine with it. No, I'll move on and I'll get you in the next one. And if I
Right.
don't, I'll get you in the next one. I learned, I just try to train myself to be fearless when I'm on that stage, because I feel like crowds can sniff it out of you, man. When they know that they're like, whoa, this guy's pushing, this guy's literally sweating. That's not a good side. Now it's like, I will at least give the perception that I have all the confidence in the world. Even if it's like on a bomb or a rough show, I'm not going to show my hand. And, and inside I'm like, damn it, I hate these people. That sucks.
Right.
But on the outside, I'm like, we're cool. Easy breezy, baby. I'm not rattled. No problem. I just glide right with this. I am not shaking at all. I'm not gonna let you think that I'm sweating anything up here. And that has kind of played well for me over the last few years. Fortunately, I don't get into too many of those situations, when I'm on all these paid shows, especially with Greg, where he's selling tickets. I'm very fortunate when you're playing crowds, man, that are all paid, $25, $30 to see somebody, as opposed to a room that's papered and they're just here to see a comedy show and have a couple pitchers of beer and chicken wings. Wow, is the dynamic different, man. It is a different animal, in my opinion, 180-degree switch when they have a vested interest.
I used to open for Frank Caliendo, and I could attest to that. He would go to big theaters and big comedy clubs, and we would, perform to sold out crowds, and they were all there to see Frank. And if you did well in front of Frank's crowd, you did well in front of all of his crowds, because he attracted a similar type of person.
Yeah, 100%. And it also, when they're there to see and act, like I do about 2 or 3 shows here with Nikki Glaser. Nikki's act, she is fearless. She will say anything, and it works for her. It works really well. And I was like, Nikki, I was like, I can't be on this show. I was like, I'm talking about my dog and my dad, and this is too clean. They're not going to get murdered. They didn't care. As long as it was good. I think it was what I said earlier. I don't even think they knew I was clean. But they it was not even a concern. And after the first show I did with her, the first theater thing, I was like, oh, this is great. This is great. I'll do this all day. Like, it has nothing to do with if you're clean, if you think you're corny, all that stuff means nothing. It's like, no, are you funny? If you're funny and it's good, then you should be fine, in shows like that. So yeah, it's really interesting though, man. It really is just how this whole world works. I also don't want to, I feel like I'm contradicting myself, because I know 10 minutes ago I said that I was in New York, and but that was a little different. That was a bar show, and I was following filth, and it was just kind of like, yeah, that guy's not, I'm just not that guy. And hey, if you are, that's great. I don't challenge you. Some of my favorite comedians are super dirty. It's not, it was just a lane I decided not to pick, and it worked. It's worked all right for me so far.
How do you train yourself not to show fear? Is it just reps, or do you have like a tip or technique you can tell young comics they could adopt to help get them over that tiger in the room, fight or flight kind of
Yeah.
anxiety?
Yeah. Reps are crucial, man. It really is. I mean, it was like the Greg Warren thing, like the 1,000 show rule. I mean, you do it enough, and in the beginning, you're so used to bombing when you start that you almost become desensitized to it to some degree, where it's like, yeah, I've been down this road before. And I mean, heck, even on Tuesdays in town when I do open mics, I mean, when I'm starting a brand new bit, I mean, I'm just trying to find the bones of it. I know this thing's gonna eat shit. But I'm not gonna get rattled with it. I also kind of have a little bit of that, like, just that touch of like Carson in me, where I don't mind addressing a bomb. If I'll do rat-a-tat-tat, and I said boom, and then it's just quiet, and I'll just be like, all right, yeah, you guys clearly hate Walgreens. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't
Right.
know. I didn't know. You guys are CVS people. I'm sorry, I didn't know. And I'll just do that thing of like making fun of myself that they hated it, but also addressing it.
Right.
And I know that can go either way. I know. I think that's a stylistic thing. Some people, they'll have a joke that doesn't work, and they'll just move on. Once in a while, I'll just make fun of it in a very lighthearted way, where it's like, oh, by the way, I'm not rattled at all. I'll be like, hey, you guys don't have to laugh, but I'm not wrong. That was damn good material. I'll do just silly things like that once in a while, and be like, hey, by the way, I'm not the problem. You're the problem. I almost get a little bit of like chip on my shoulder once in a while. So no, I don't get too. The only time I get a little, I could be a little on edge is if it is a corporate and it's like an opening thing and there's big money being paid. But man, I mean, dude, your back is already at the door. You're already behind the 8 ball in those things. Half the time, they don't even know they're seeing comedy. They're in the middle of talking and eating, and then it's like, hey guys, guess what? It's comedy time. We got comedy time with Greg Warren. It's gonna be great. But before we bring him up, this guy, Sean O'Brien, pretty funny. Like, they don't even know how to intro you right. They're saying, you're like, I'll tell you, this kid, well, let me tell you about it. He opens for Greg Warren. He opens for Greg Warren, and his name's Sean O'Brien. And I got to tell you, I talked to him before the show, and I'll tell you what, man, just a bang-up guy. I don't think you're really going to get a kick out of him, guys. Here he comes. And they're like, oh, boy. And they're just like, what? Like, what is happening? And then I'm like, oh, boy, this is going to be a rough 15 minutes. But
it's
so
a sweet $2,500.
Yeah, exactly, man. So but even something like that, it's like, man, the deck's kind of stacked against you. Because even Greg, dude, I'll watch Greg. He'll pull out every tool in the tool shed to get those shows to work, man. He'll open with Flute Man, which is like one of his legendary bits,
right.
like on a, I mean, when he's opening with that joke, that's telling me, all right, this crowd is gonna be a pain in the ass, and I'm gonna have to throw all this type of smoke at him to get him. So
when you hear Flute Man.
Oh yeah, he's still got it in the old he's got it in the trunk. But yeah, I used to have a big I would come from a position of fear if I didn't do well years ago, and I got exposed, and the crowd could just tell. You're like, oh, this guy's scared. This guy's nervous. We don't trust him. Mm-hmm. And now I think it is reps, man. I think it's just like, no, I know what I'm doing here. Even if you don't love this bit, that's all right. I've tested it before. It works.
Right.
I'm not upset about it. If you don't like it, that's fine. I'm not mad about it. I almost kind of have this borderline arrogant position of like, well, that's on you then. Yeah. Because, I've tested this 1,000 times and it's worked, and you guys want no part of it. So I'm not saying this to him, but I'm like, yeah, you're just a shit crowd. So that's your loss, not mine. And that kind of mindset keeps me just kind of in the moment and keeps me kind of centered and calm and not rattled. And I'm just kind of smiling through it. And I don't know, there's been a little bit of like, I can tell that's helped me on stage, just not to show fear or lose confidence. Because if they know that you're confident, man, there's like, it's almost like you put it on them, where they're like, oh yeah, gosh, I guess we should be laughing. Like, this guy he's not rattled at all about this, and he's like telling us, like, well, geez, you guys missed joke there. It's a shame to enjoy that, or however,
Right.
you were. So, but
Well,
yeah, it was reps. It was reps for sure is what got me
yeah.
in that mindset.
What what is uh one of your best comedy moments and one of your worst comedy moments? Like what can you, if you can think about it, where do you feel like you peaked, and then where do you feel like you hit a wall that we can relate to?
I would say, I guess there's a couple ways to answer that question. In terms of the best, it would probably be things like, opening for Nikki is a pretty cool thing. And you're playing in front of 5,000 people, in Atlantic City. And I'm like, oh man, this is it. This is like the real deal. These are like $100 tickets. This is like, Hard Rock, huge venue. Like you're going up cold open. They don't know you. Your act's nothing like Nikki's. Like, oh man, we're doing it. Here we go. And I just remember I killed that show. I killed for 15 minutes.
Great.
Just Nikki told me I did. Some of her tour management were like, great set. And that was like a real nice moment because I was like, okay, I went in, this is big stakes. These people didn't know me. They're excited to see her. And it's like, oh, but before we bring her up, here's this dude, yeah, this dumpy looking, 50-year-old guy, and let's just see what he has to bring to the table. And I got him. And that was like one of those where I was like, yeah, I'm a comic. I'm a real comic now. Like, I'm not, I may not be a headliner comic, but I mean, I feel proud to say I'm a comedian. I always had this like kind of not moniker, but I always felt like I couldn't call myself a comedian unless I use the money to pay my gas bill. Like, I feel like to say you're a comedian, you have to earn it. Like, you can't just go on stage and talk and then be like, yeah, I'm a comedian. It's like,
Right.
I always put this pressure, but it's like, no, you're a comedian when you can pay your mortgage from doing comedy. That's what makes you a comedian.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true either. But I
It
just
kind of
remember it was
is.
nice.
It kind of is.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it. But I remember there was like a 6-month window where I just had work, work, work. And I'm like, okay, I'm paying my car payment. I'm paying my mortgage. I'm paying the gas. I'm paying all my money. And because I'm telling jokes, it's like, so you're doing like, you're doing it. You're doing,
Yeah.
that's what you want to do. You're making a living doing stand-up comedy, albeit maybe, then 3 months I had off and then I had to go back and, bartend somewhere or drive for Uber or whatever. But it was like, okay, I had this window where it was like, bam, I got all money coming in and I even have money left over from doing stand up. I think right now where I'm kind of stuck, like the downside of having is like really breaking into getting like what I consider a killer 45. I have what I think is a pretty killer 25 to 30. And then what kind of gets a little off the runway sloppy 45, mixed in with some crowd work or doing bits that I'm like, all right, this is serious. This bit's a C+ bit. It's fine. It's passable. It's not
Right.
done. It's something is inherently broken with this joke, but I took this bar show and it's going to pay me a couple $100 and I got to do 50 minutes. And I can tell, I can tell where the dents are when I get to certain bits. And I was like, man, I just wish I just got to keep, cracking it. And it's like, man, I'm right there in a few of these bits, but they're not A bits. They're not A+ bits where, okay, that's a done bit. That's a solid bit from start to finish. And you guys, this thing is just insanely hard. What we do, it's just, it's the craziest thing, anybody can do is just like, and you make yourself nuts trying to perfect a joke. I mean, there's some jokes I've been working on for 8 years and it was like 6 months ago, I finally fixed it. I just had this one thing I wasn't saying right. And just a little, oh yeah, say that part up front and not in the back, just flip it. Bam.
No
And
kidding.
it took the joke from a 6 to a 10, just because I took this little extra pause and I basically just flopped it. I said one word in the back and the other in the front, and I just flipped it. And then the joke just went from right here to up here, which I think what makes stand-up fun. It's the science project of it, of figuring out, because I will ring out a bit, dude. Yeah, I'll go 3, 4, 5 years. I will not give up. If I'm like, no, I am convinced I got something here, I will not give up on it. Like, I'm working on this thing now where I had surgery and I had an umbilical hernia, and it's just when you get excessive fat in your belly button, and it's nothing harmful, it's harmless, but surgery. And it's an okay joke right now. It's about a 4-minute joke, and it's okay. And even on a hot crowd, it's good, but it's not a great joke. It's one of those, when you got a tight crowd, it doesn't work. It does. And I know it. And I'm like, God damn it, I don't have it. And I was in Lexington last weekend, and I'm like, okay, you know what? You got too much fat in the setup there. Drop all that. Doesn't need to be said. They're not laughing. And you're like, okay, boom. I dropped that first 30 seconds. I cut some fat. Okay. The joke, it was at a 5. Now it's at a 6. So we're getting there. We're getting in the right direction, but it's not at a 10 yet. And I think that's what one of my, getting this hurdle of, like, getting a joke complete. It's tough, dude. It is tough to write great bits, and you could even argue, even your greatest stuff, some people could watch and be like, oh yeah, that guy's fine. I didn't care for it, and you're like,
Yeah.
Oh man.
Those are all my A bits.
Yeah, those are my A bits, and they're like, he's fine. So I think that would be where where I could, get a little bit of, not frustration, but of just like, really, I just want to be at a point where it's like, okay, somebody could call me and be like, dude, you got to do 45 in whatever room. And I could go in there and be like, not a sweat. No problem. I got it. Where at 30, I can say that. At 45, I'd be like, okay, I can do it. I'm not going to walk the room, but I know where parts of that act kind of start to come off the tracks, where I'm like, that bit's just not done. There's something broken with that joke, or that's missing something, or there's an extra word on there, or there's too much fat there, or that just doesn't make sense. I run in a lot of those landmines, but as we all do, which is what writing material is, You're
working with two fantastic comics, Nikki Glaser and Greg Warren, and you're watching them do A bits over and over and over again because they've perfected their performance in some ways. So that must make it tough for you to be somebody who's on the uprise to watch perfection.
Yeah, not only it makes it tough, Greg shot a new special. It came out on YouTube about 6 months ago. He now has about a new 50 minutes. To the average person, they would say those jokes are done. They're great.
Yeah.
They kill. And I'm with Greg. He goes, I got 50 there. He goes, about 25 of that's good.
What?
I go, you're killing. I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, dude, I've been doing it 35 years. I love you, buddy. He goes, they're not there. Those jokes are not 10s. He goes, what you think are 10s, I appreciate. Those are 7s or 8s. He goes, I need 10s. He goes, I even have a couple of 9s in there. I don't have 10s. And I'm just like, well, yeah, exactly, Mike. I'm like, wow. I go, wow. I mean, he, when you get to a level where he'll throw in a new bit 40 minutes into his act just to play with it, and he's already got the bones of it working. Like from a crowd's point of view, they don't know it's brand new.
Right.
Like he's telling something that he's never said in his life. He just threw it in on Lexington. He's like, that happened the other day. I just said tell. And I'm like, wow, you had a setup, you had a punchline, you had you already had like the scaffolding of the joke the first time you told that, And I'm like, dude, I'm just like looking to just get the bricks just kind of stacked up, I mean, you already have half the house built. And, I'm sure a lot of that just comes with, insane talent, practice, time of doing it. That guy, Greg is what, a priest is to the Catholic Church, is what he is to comedy. He is just all in. I mean, he spends his life just obsessing and doing stand up. And I applaud him, dude. I think you got to be a little nuts and obsessed if you want to do this. I mean, the competition is thick. There is a lot of people out there. I'm not getting any younger, like it or not, dude. People go on YouTube, TikTok, and, you know, get a channel. Boom. All of a sudden they got 1 million followers and they're selling out, you know, 2,000 seaters. And it's like, you know, geez, I'm just trying to get 40 people to come out to my show. I mean, it's like, it's, you know, so it's like you just gotta put some juice on yourself. And I think that's good. You don't want to get too complacent in this, man. You just never, and that's one thing I never want to put myself in, is just like comfortability of like, oh yeah, you're fine. That joke's good enough. Keep it. You know, they're laughing. They're fine. It's like, no, man, always achieve for like, don't achieve for good. Achieve for greatness. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, get the same. I was told it's like, what's your job as a feature? Your job as a feature is to do what the headliner's doing, but in 20 minutes or 25.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah.
Like, your job is to basically be like, get the laughs the headliner does. He's doing or she's doing 45 to 50. Maybe you can be a little greener, but you pretty much that crowd after that MC, they better be ripping. You know, that's your job. Your job is to get them tuned up and set that table up for the headliner, you know? So, and that's really what it's about, man. Keeping yourself sharp and honest.
What advice would you give to a new comic? Like what it was someone who's starting out in the business, what would you say would be your top bit of advice?
A couple things. One, don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Do not worry about what somebody else is doing, where they're at. Don't get involved with why is this person getting a week, jealousy, bitterness.
No.
Have no focus or concentration at all on what anyone else is doing. You're wasting all your energy on something that you can't control. You can't control what Charlie's doing, you know, on the open mic who you sit next to. Never, ever let that interfere with your comedy process. I would say, man, you know, and a lot of it, this is all, I'm just passing the Greg Warren school of thought over the years of him telling me, and I've applied this, man. Record yourself. I think that is extremely vital. You don't even need to film yourself necessarily. Just, you know, we all got our smartphone. Go up, hit record. And you know what? Whether even it's an open mic set or a professional show, and just play that thing, man. Play it while you're driving. Play it while you're doing the dishes. It's weird. It starts to become like your voice becomes almost like listening to somebody else for a while. If you can get over the fact, nobody likes to listen to themselves by nature. But after a while, you just become like you're so used to it. You will hear and find where the kinks are in your act when you step back. Because, you know, in the moment on stage, it's so hard to dissect, you know, what is wrong and right. You know, I'll tell a bit and it's like 4 minutes and I'm like, I thought that was pretty good, but I didn't get a lot from it. And it's like, well, yeah, dummy, 90 seconds, you had all this setup and fat that nobody cared about. I was enjoying it because I'm the one telling the story, but you go back and you're listening, you're like, oh yeah. Yeah. There was no need for any of that horse shit. Yeah. Yeah. Why would I do that? That has been just a really effective tool. Listening and really, man, you know, quite simply, like we mentioned, you know, a dozen times today, reps, the 1,000 set rule, man. If you want to do this, you can do it. You might not be on the greatest shows ever, but depending what market you're in, there are shows to do. You know, I mean, there's literally a bowling alley in town that does a show once a month above the bowling alley. And every 5 seconds, you just hear with the pins, you know, and it's a part of the thing. If you're young and new at this, just get reps. Get up everywhere and anywhere you possibly can. And yeah, you know, sometimes you got to eat shit and you got to hang out. If you can be a bar rat, if your job and time allows it, be it. Hang around it. Just be engrossed in all of it. But never get too worried about what somebody else is doing. You know, some people like to riff on stage and find a joke, fine. I've never heard anybody say that I didn't progress because I've been writing. Do free association writing. Just move the pen. Again, this is another Greg Warrenism. Take the pen, write in cursive for 30 minutes. It's beautiful. Just write. Well, I don't know. You're not writing jokes. Keep in mind. I'm going to be very clear here. You're literally just writing. I literally had nothing to say one day, so I just kept writing. I have a fat head. I have a fat head. I have a fat head. I don't know why I'm wearing a red shirt. You know, red is for people who and it was all non sequitur bullshit. But believe it or not, in that 30 minutes of doing that, you're going to pull a word or something's going to be said in there that you're going to be like, oh yeah, well, that's interesting. Oh yeah, liver pills. Why am I taking liver supplements? And then all of a sudden, you know, you're like, you shelf that and you just circle liver supplements. What's the joke, Sean? There is no joke. Right now, you're just pulling for premises. But that is a really effective tool, I noticed, just to pull premises, because I think it's extremely difficult to just sit down and just be like, what's funny today? Mm-hmm. That is just an inherently difficult thing to do. It's not that it can't be done, and people have done it, but I think it adds a lot of added pressure on you going and thinking that way. Where if you just be like, hey, I'm just going to write. I'm going to write for 30 minutes. And I'm telling you, and just doing that, you're gonna find invariably, you're gonna find 1, 2, or 3 things that will be almost premise worthy. And it's great. It is great. I mean, right now I'm writing about my dad was a smoker, but he only smoked 1 cigarette a day, and it was before bed, and it was sitting on the toilet, and he would ash into the tub, use the bathroom, and go to bed. And he did this for 55 years.
Wow.
I don't know what's funny about that. All I know is here's a guy who somehow was addicted to a cigarette a day his whole life. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of somebody just being a one smoke. So it's like, okay, that's interesting to me. That's interesting to me. Usually smokers smoke more than 1 cigarette a day.
Yeah.
He found a way to just have 1 cigarette a night his whole life in a routine. He had a system. He went to the bathroom. He ashed in the tub. He threw the cigarette down the drain. Do I have a bit on it? No. Do I find it interesting? Yeah. And then I will just try and write about that. And again, the 95% rule. There's a 95% chance there will not be a polished bit in there. But there's a 5% chance that I might have something magical out of that, you know? And that was by just doing free association writing. So write, record, and don't worry about what other people think, and get up.
Yeah, so we always ask every guest, if you have an hour a day to write and work on your craft, work on material, what drills, exercises. It sounds like you already, free association and writing is one of your big ones, but if you had to script an hour, like you're the trainer and you're coaching a young comic, what would you tell them for that hour? What's push-ups for your comedy chest?
A lot of what I said. And you know, there's also things like, there's other ways too, you know, I do these things, and I just made up this term. I just call them reflections, where I just kind of dive into my childhood. And I don't try and put too much pressure on myself. And I just try and think of one silly or goofy thing that happened to me as a kid. And that doesn't mean, I'm just going to be writing jokes about my childhood. It's more of an exercise of just trying to write a joke. So every day I will just, in part of my free notes, I'll just be like, what is one silly thing I did as a kid? And it doesn't even have, again, I want to be very clear here. It doesn't have to be like funny. Like I had some CD as a kid, like I had a 6-disc CD player, and the only reason I would play music to enjoy it, I would have to hit it random on. I couldn't just play an album through, and I don't know why. And I'm like, I remember hey, dude, just play the album. Like, why do we got to shuffle? I'm like, yeah, it's like a surprise. It's like the radio. You never know what you're going to get. And then they would just play an album, and they'd play it in order. I'd be like, no, I want it on random. I want it on shuffle. We're going to shuffle this. And I just wrote that down, and I'd be like, why? And then everyone asked me, what was with you in shuffle? And I don't have an answer for it, and I don't have a joke for it. All I just know is that out of all my group of friends and my family, they're like, oh, yeah, they call him Shuffler. Every day he had to shuffle his music. We don't know why.
Shuffling Sean.
Shuffling Sean. I would write that down, and then I would just try and talk about that. And then somehow, here's in closing on this. So, okay, there's that. Now what might happen is now I'm talking about shuffling and CDs. Now, because of that though, now I might just get a joke about CDs or music that had nothing to do. So it got me to this thing about my kid, and now I'm adjacent. Now it's like, well, no, I don't have anything on that shuffle thing, but I actually have this thing on CDs, how I used to scam BMG Music and Columbia House, and I would buy 6 CDs and they were only a penny, and then you'd have to buy 3 more, but they were like $80 a piece, and I just threw the bill in the trash. And then the next time I would just take my address and put it in my buddy's name. Okay, now what I did there, the original part of that was me just shuffling albums, but then that led me to a bit about Columbia House and BMG Music and how I got CDs. So that's kind of where I was going with that. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to write this thing on CD shuffling, but I did kind of get this bit about BMG Music and Columbia House. So it basically, I went through one door to open a door next to it. And that's what I always found kind of a helpful tool for me.
Good answer.
Mike, I would say sometimes in more cases, it's the thing that's adjacent that turns into the joke. Where like I have like an 8-minute chunk about my dad and struggling with the TV and the cell phone and just like dad tech stuff. And it started off as this one small thing. And then I never, ever did a joke about the one small thing. It was all the adjacent stuff to it. Like the whole thing, the whole genesis of the joke was my dad would always just say, he would say, what was it? The Bluetooth. He would say like blue teeth, like he didn't know any better. So I was like, oh, I'm going to write a joke about him saying blue teeth instead of Bluetooth. And I never did. But what I ended up doing is that lent me these side things to do bits about my dad that weren't about that per se, but did remind me like, oh yeah, but he did do this thing with the Amazon Echo, and he did do this thing with the with his desktop, and he tried to get gas on Amazon and all this stuff. Like I just, it just kept going into this, and that all started because I just wrote the word down, blue teeth. So I always thought that was an interesting. That's probably like my best chunk of material I have right now is this like 8 minutes on my father, and all the genesis was just due to me writing the word blue teeth down. But yet I never mentioned it all in my act.
That's great.
Good example.
Well, Sean, that's great, and thank you for sharing your time and your thoughts and your insights, man. It's really powerful to hear your angles, because you're definitely on the way up, and you're finding a lot of success because you work so hard. So congratulations on all that. Is there anything you want to pitch or anything you need to besides the consumers with Greg Warren?
Yeah, man. We do have this podcast called The Consumers. Yeah, I'd love for you, if anyone's, a big podcast fan of comedy, just give us a shot. It's on YouTube or anywhere that you find podcast, any mediums where you listen to. You just quite simply just type in The Consumers. It's clean, but it's not like we kind of say it. It's not for kids, but you could have your kids in the car and you don't have to worry about us saying some polarizing shit where, you're going to be like, oh gosh, they're getting into some heavy stuff. And it's just a silly thing where, like I said earlier, we just go off about brands and try and make it funny. So we're really trying to give that thing, get it growing. And it'd be cool if you could check it out. I'll have some dates coming up too. I'll be at the Comedy Attic the Friday, Saturday after Thanksgiving, which I believe is the 27th and 8th.
And 28th. Thanksgiving's on the 27th.
Yeah. So 28th and 29th in Bloomington, Indiana, and Kansas City. I will be in December 26th through New Year's Eve at the Comedy Club in Kansas City, Kansas.
Very nice. Well, we'll look forward to all that. And thank you, Sean. I'm so glad to catch up with you and see you again. Let's not.
Likewise, Mikey. Yeah. I appreciate you, buddy, man. And I always will remember, man, it was good memories of you, dude. You know, the piece of advice, and you were my first one, man. My first paycheck I got was on your week, and I could not have had a better guy, man, because you know, headliners don't really want to mess around with new MCs, and you were nothing but a sweetheart to me, and you answered my questions, and you listened to me, and you met me for coffee, and I'll
That's 'cause
never
you were
forget
sneaking me
that.
free drinks, man. That's why you were giving
Well, I had
charging
to
me for
figure out,
beers.
yeah, I had to work the system some way, so.
Don't tell Matt that.
Right on, buddy. So,
All right, buddy. Good talking to you, man. We'll
all
talk.
right, We're good to meet you, buddy.
I'll,
We'll talk to you guys soon.
I'll send you the link so you can share it on your socials.
Would love to, man. Absolutely. I'll put it out there.
Beautiful. Talk soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
That was a lot. That was a lot of good stuff on just
Yeah.
the writing process, which I really like to get into and pick people's brains of.
I love the automatic writing, the morning pages that he was talking about. That's
30-minute timer.
advice we've heard before, but is still very valuable. And
But it's not just jokes. He's just free writing. If something's
Yeah.
going to spring. I like his 95% rule. 95% is going to be garbage, but then you'll get 5% of those things will turn into good bits.
and that's enough, you know, for somebody that's trying to write new material. They're just looking for that breakthrough to get into the next chunk.
His reflections exercise is good too. Reflect on something that was goofy or interesting or unique about your childhood.
Right.
See if you can just write jokes about it. I'm surprised he doesn't give up on ideas. Like he said, he has ideas that are 5 years old that he's never
Yeah.
given up on.
I think those are the bits that your favorite because they grow.
Don't show fear stuff was really good.
Yeah.
Kind of a stage presence, not showing fear is a big one.
Yeah, the audience can detect your fear in a second and it turns them off.
Yeah, there's a lot of just good operationalized writing examples.
Yeah.
Is this interesting, different or unique? And then just start with a premise and then just keep free writing about it.
Right. And eventually something pops.
Yeah, good guest.
Cool. Good. I'm glad he turned out good. All right, cool, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
We'll talk soon. Good job.
See ya.
See you.